Hi, I'm Sumayya Jamil and I teach Pakistani cuisine at Divertimenti. And I'm here today to introduce you to a very, very important bread in our cuisine, which is called naan bread. And you may be familiar with it in Indian cuisine, but we also have it in Pakistani cuisine. And actually, really no meal is complete without it. And my mission has always been to teach people differences between Indian and Pakistani food. And though there are some subtle differences, there are also some very huge differences. We eat a lot more bread in the north of Pakistan than anywhere else in the subcontinent. And naan bread, of course, is one of our most important breads. And I'm here today to teach you how to make that in the aga, which is very exciting because recently I discovered that the aga can mimic the work of a tandoor. And that's been very exciting for anyone who has an aga. Making naan breads is absolutely fabulous, and it's as good as making them in a tandoor. So I'm here to do that with you today. So I begin the naan by sifting the flour. What we're using is strong bread flour. I've used organic strong bread flour. So we start with sifting all the dry ingredients. And just to go through all the ingredients before I do anything else, we're using strong bread flour, some bicarbonate of soda, some baking powder, a little bit of sugar, some salt, obviously. Yogurt, I usually use Greek yogurt because it's less liquidy and nice and thick, and it kind of gets the dough soft. 1 egg, some ghee, and later to sort of decorate and add some nuttiness to the naans, we put some nigella seeds and some sesame seeds. And of course some milk to bind it all together. So we start with adding all the dry ingredients. So I start with this bread flour. Sift that with the baking powder and the bicarb. I don't use any yeast in these naans, and people always find that quite interesting. I find that the bread dough gets too doughy if you add yeast, and although traditionally a lot of naan breads have yeast in it, this is my own little concoction and it works quite well. So, and especially in the aga, it works really, really well in the aga. It just needs a few minutes in the aga and it's ready. So we get that all aerated. And once that's done, you make a little hole in the middle, a little well, add the egg, and give that a nice mix. While you're doing that, add the ghee, and then add the yogurt. And to bind that all together, just keep your milk nearby. I'm just using whole milk. So there's no water used in that, and usually in chapati dough, we'd only just use water, but in this, it's all very enriched. So naan is generally a very enriched bread. Give that a good mix. The key is to get a really nice soft dough because you would be stretching it quite a bit to give it a nice oblong shape. And because you don't have any yeast in it, you don't have to leave it to rise for very long, and it doesn't generally double as such, but it does become a little bit more fluffy when left. That's nice and soft, and a little bit more. And after you feel that all the powdered stuff is together, just take that out on a nice clean surface. There we go. Got that quite together. And I would just flour the surface. And give that a good kneading. Should be quite an elastic dough because the stretching of the naan when you're putting it on in the aga, it should be nice and elongated, so you've got to have it quite stretchy. You can do this in a food processor if you like, but I find that if you do it by hand, it doesn't take that much longer, and also each process that you do by hand, it just adds more air to the dough, and it tends to really, really become nice and soft. From my experience, I think it's probably better to do it by hand. Besides, it's quite therapeutic. And there we have it. So there's your dough. And then you can just pop it back in the bowl. Take a damp tea cloth, place that on top of the dough, and leave it to rest for maybe about half an hour to 45 minutes, maximum an hour. It doesn't really need a lot of resting time, but what it does need is a little bit of resting time to kind of get all the ingredients working, and then we'll be ready to make naans in the aga. Now the dough has been resting for about half an hour. You can leave it a little bit longer if you like. The longer you leave it, the more puffy the naans will get. So just flour your hands slightly because it's quite a rubbery dough. Just take sort of bowl size, it depends on how big you want the naan. A regular sort of home naan would not be enormous. And just keep that covered so it doesn't dry out. Flour a surface. Flatten it out a little bit by hand. And then, depending on what shape you want it, traditionally naan breads are always sort of like oblong. So a nice pointy tapered part there. And this kind of flatter here. It's quite a stretchy dough, so you can actually, once you've sort of spread it out, you can do all this by hand. You want to try and get the edges slightly flat, otherwise when you put it in to cook, sometimes the edges don't cook properly and you have a bit of a chewy, uncooked corner. You sort of just give it a nice stretch. If you feel you get little holes in between, don't worry about it, just sort of patch them together by hand. And once it's a nice shape, let's take a fork and give that a good stretch. I really like to stretch those out. They do kind of go back in, so once you have a nice stretch there, just score it around. That would stop the pockets from bursting. Give it that brush of ghee. And now ghee is, I've put ghee in the dough as well. But if you don't have ghee, you can totally use something else, like maybe take some vegetable oil and mix it with a little bit of melted butter. And if you want to make ghee at home, feel free. You can just take some unsalted butter and cook it down till the milk solids leave. And you pretty much have ghee that comes on the top. I'm now just going to sprinkle some sesame seeds. You can use anything on top. Sesame seeds are quite traditional, and I put some nigella as well. You can put fennel, aniseed, I don't know, I put za'atar on it, put oregano, anything that you like. Anyway, when that's done, you can just start making a few more, maybe 2 or 3 at the same time, maybe not more than that, because when you bake them, they kind of lie around and get dried out. So that's one. We'll make another one. Okay, so we've prepped our naans now, and we're going to go over to the aga and start cooking. So we're now at the aga. We're going to be using 2 parts of the aga. We're using the boiling plate and the roasting oven. So we start by using the boiling plate. We lift that up and we use any nice heavy cast iron sort of frying pan just to get the bottom of the naan slightly cooked, not too cooked, not brown. So just a nice heavy cast iron frying pan. You don't need to put anything in it, just keep it dry. Pick up the naan, place that on there. All you're looking for really is to kind of cook the bottom of the naan. Don't make it brown or anything, just nice and evenly cooked. So all you're looking for is a slightly sort of white base. And now we're going to put them in the roasting oven. So we're going to be using the aga baker's paddle, which is great to slide the naans inside the aga and take them out as well. And just slide them into the shelf. And just close that for a while and let those rise. You can keep checking on them just to make sure that they're rising well, but it normally takes between 5 to 6 minutes to sort of cook, depending on how thick your dough is and depending how large your naan is. Okay, so they're pretty ready. Great sign is that they're nice and brown, and they've got nice round surface popping out. And we're using the baker's paddle, which is nice and easy, takes them out really well. And so here are your naans, nice and ready to dip into some yummy curry.